Today I'm reading the chapter called Family, Different Paces and New Faces. Here's the illustration that goes with that one. You have the male cardinal and the kids, and then you have kind of the faded out female cardinal, and then you have the shadow of the other cardinals too of the past and in the background, whether they're here or gone. All right. Family, different paces and new faces. Somehow, I thought because I lived much of my life in the same house with my siblings and my dad that we would grieve in similar ways. Can I hear you collectively laughing at me? Yes. You who are reading this already know I was wrong. My dad, my brothers, my sisters, and I came together in beautiful ways in the weeks following my mom's death. There was a bond formed that we would forever share after grieving the woman we all loved so much. My family was my safe place, a place where all feelings were allowed, and we did not need to put a wall up. The months following is when our grief splintered off and we found ourselves in different stages. Some of us stayed in the sad stage for a long time, crying randomly for months and years. For others, it shifted to anger quickly, anger and frustration. We felt upset with our mom that she did not get help that she needed sooner. We felt furious with her doctors who overlooked major red flags. We felt anger towards our dad that he did not know how sick she was and that he didn't force her to get help sooner. We felt mad at ourselves that we did not see things clearer, speak up more, or somehow know how bad things were. All of this was useless, some unwarranted. Some of us turned to drinking too much to numb ourselves. Some of us slept more than we probably should have or wore what was healthy. Some of us shopped and ate and filled the void in ways that really did not fill the void. It was all normal, I'm finding out, though. Not necessarily healthy, but normal. One thing that surprised me, or that surprisingly helped me grieve, was the photo of my mom in her casket I'd taken the day before the funeral. I never thought I would be a person who took a photo of someone in a casket. In the days, weeks, and months following her death, that photo of my mom was a gift for me. I looked at it and it helped it seem real to me. I studied her hands, the rings we buried her in, her cheekbones. Somewhere after year 4 or 5, I must have deleted that photo and felt I no longer needed it, but I wish I still had it. As I shared earlier, a few months after she passed, everyone and everything started to annoy me. That was, I think, last week's video. Nothing mattered as much as what I had gone through. I felt people's judgment over how I handled things as I put back together the pieces and how I showed up in the world. I hated it all. I wanted to avoid everyone, every holiday, every month on the 30th, when I counted how many months it had been since her passing. This stage lasted strong for months and came in waves for the first couple of years. Within these previous stages were intermixed feelings of determination. I wanted to take every lesson from my mom's life, her frustrations, her struggles, even her joys, and carry them with me. I wanted to help women like her. I wanted to reach out and dream bigger than she had dared to dream. I felt as if I was handling it all incredibly well most of the time. I was showing up each day and trying to stay in the zone. I was lucky enough to be able to walk through my feelings with friends and siblings and my husband. I read books, I journaled, I prayed. I asked my mom for support while I talked out loud to her. I reached my arm out a few times on important days and held her hand imaginarily near the passenger seat while I drove. I imagined her being there with me, supporting me and holding my hand back, loving me. One big area that changed the way I grieved in comparison to my family was that I did not have a newborn baby while grieving that first year like 2 of my sisters did, or a toddler like my brother. I cannot help but wonder how that changes the mourning process. On top of normal grief, both of my sisters' bodies were healing and regulating hormones back to their pre-baby selves. This also meant less sleep and another person to compete for their attention. In contrast, a baby also gave them an extra reason to keep getting out of bed, keep moving forward, and a reminder of the circle of life. One of the hardest things for my siblings and me was how our dad grieved. He started out appearing strong. We would talk daily. He seemed reluctant but ready for this next part of his life. Often we would meet up for family dinners at a restaurant in our hometown that featured live music and was kid-friendly. When I was not working with my dad, other days were spent at his house helping him go through my mom's things. In my mind, I'd picture my dad taking this time to work on his hobbies, to travel, to visit us all often and hang out with his grandkids and us. I imagined us staying connected as we each healed. 6 months, however, after my mom's passing, my dad announced he was going to start dating. How could he love my mom so much for over 33 years and then feel the need to find someone else so quickly after her passing? When I separated myself from my own defense of my mom's memory, I wanted my dad to be happy and feel supported. I went home each night to my husband. I had someone to talk to. I had someone to share my grief with and my joy, and I hated the idea of my dad feeling lonely. I would never have asked him not to start dating them. I simply wish he had taken more time for himself and us before bringing someone else into our family dynamic. That summer at a public park, I met his girlfriend for the first time. We will call her Carol. Carol also had 5 grown children, and she was supportive of my dad in his grieving. The hard part, she was nothing like our mom. At first, she appeared to me as friendly but meek and a bit shy. Weeks later, we began noticing that we were rarely allowed over to the house while other siblings and their kids were there. It stressed Carol out to have too many of us together at the same time. This was much the opposite of our mom's attitude of everyone being welcomed. This was not easy on us. Eventually, it was articulated that Carol had hosted too many events in her previous marriage and was over it. She no longer wanted to host things. We were a gathering family. Our dinners and hangout times were valuable to each of us. In the past, the door was always open for any relative or friend to step by, for coffee as well. Things were drastically different after my dad started dating Carol. My dad's inability to set proper boundaries made this transition harder. I will never forget one particular day, that first fall, when my sisters and I agreed to go through boxes in his house. He did not want to go through anything himself, so he asked us to make the decisions on what stayed, what would be divided between us kids, and what would be donated. We went through family ornaments, serving dishes, and holiday decor that brought endless memories, sorting and deciding along the way. At some point, my dad sent his girlfriend downstairs to where we were working and requested that we begin asking his girlfriend if she wanted to keep anything for their house before we could take it. I will never forget sitting in the basement, racks of things my mom had bought or used for our family, holiday traditions in the boxes in front of us, and having this stranger's presence in this incredibly difficult and complicated moment. Carol had her own lifetime of holiday decor. Her and my dad had only been dating 4 months at that point. It felt like a dishonor to our bond with our mom to be forced to ask a virtual stranger to decide on these things. Of course, they were my dad's things. He could do whatever he wished with them, including not giving us any. The frustration came, I believe, from him making Carol the gatekeeper, the decider. Looking back, we should have called a timeout. We should have pulled our dad aside and made it clear that he had just put his girlfriend and us in an incredibly awkward position. This was not her doing. This was on my dad. He was trying to give her a chance to see what she liked and maybe also have all of us bond. But instead, he was throwing her to the wolves, essentially. We resented this. We were the wolves. We were polite and full of begrudging Minnesota nice, but wolves nonetheless. My parents raised kids with strong personalities that Carol was now finding herself at passive-aggressive odds with. The first heartbreaking Thanksgiving, then Christmas passed. My dad did not host any more holidays. It was frustrating and sad. Traditions were already changed so much by not having our mom there. Now we had lost our family gathering tradition as well. More than that, we felt we were losing our dad a bit too. At the time, it felt as if we were being wiped out of our dad's life. As if a revisionist history was being created about our lives prior to Carol. And this transition was not easy. Each of us kids handled it very differently. The difficulties continued with my dad's directing of Carol to make herself at home. As she and my dad redecorated the house, we watched pieces of our mom's life wiped away one room at a time. Intellectually, this was understandable. Emotionally, it took more work. 11 years later, my dad is still with Carol. And while I selfishly wish they were a bit more open and inclusive, I can see now that my dad got to live 33 plus years with my mom and her style of living. He got to raise kids with her, build his career with her. He loved her, shared laughs with her, endlessly attended activities of their kids together. This was his time now to live for him, time for something different. My dad was getting a second chapter, a new set of circumstances to choose someone to spend his days with. Yes, I still wish they would host family gatherings. Yes, as I see them spend weeks at a time with her children and grandchildren, I do find myself a bit jealous. While my mom was alive, my dad got to know his two oldest grandchildren so well. They adored him. Most of his grandchildren born over the last decade have not gotten to know that side of him. Grief broke him apart. We had a very idyllic childhood. He was an amazing dad to have growing up. We get glimpses of that old dad side of him more and more as each year passes. Through lots of emotional work, I have learned to come to realizing that my dad is holding his own pain. He is imperfectly trying to find his way forward. And the reality is he's not that different from when my mom was alive. He supported her plans the same way that he now supports Carol's. The difference is that our mom's devotion was to us and Carol's devotion is to her children. I wish he were more independent, and I wish he would have taken more time to set up his life again how he wanted it, then find someone to match that life. The more I talk with others, though, the more I realize how rare this would have been. I share all this not because my dad's a bad guy. He's human, and the frustrations I share are incredibly common between a child and a parent after the other parent passes. I share them so you know you're not alone. If you have a hard time welcoming a new member into your family dynamic, all that I shared above has evolved over more than a decade. Missing in it is the story of long stretches of wishing for old times, old traditions, finding a new balance of our role as adult kids. Where do we step in and where do we need to step back? A friend of mine, Bridget, shared with me so eloquently the other side of this story last year. She was Carol in her husband's kids' eyes. His kids, too, are full grown. They, too, have never gotten to know all she has to offer. It has taken her years to slowly nurture those relationships. She explained the absolute heartbreak it is to support a man who lost his wife while also being seen as the villain. To see the man she has fallen in love with broken and trying to find any semblance of happiness again is not easy. There are parts of a life that a child's love cannot fill. My dad and Bridget's husband deserve to have filled. It was such a gift to talk with her and see things from her and Carol's perspective. All the wasted hours of anger or what ifs. Really, it's about learning to speak up, learning to articulate concerns, and learning to respect that most people are doing the best they can. As a family, after 11 years, we each have had to hypothetically put our own oxygen masks on and get our lives in order. And years where we were a bit codependent with each other and needed deeper levels of support. I believe we have now found a healthy respect for how different each of our life partners, kids, and life choices are. However, family therapy would have helped things get there sooner, I imagine. But I am grateful where we are now. Things are messy and hard after one person in a family is suddenly removed. In the years since my mom's passing, I've heard numerous stories from others about family, anger, theft, and blame after someone passes. Horrible situations. If you have experienced any of these, my heart goes out to you. Whether you have had to pursue legal action, bow out, find peace by cutting out destructive relations, or you must handle everything yourself, reach out, find support. There are online support groups, in-person grief groups, support after loss social media groups, legal counsel, pastors and therapists. Read about setting boundaries, get advice before being guilted into handing over money or property. You do not have to face this alone. You will get through this. Just keep going. Keep waking up and taking things one day, 1 hour at a time. It's interesting now, 7 years past when I wrote that, and things are the same still. Our kids are grown though now. I'm in that sandwiched situation where my daughter's in her mid-20s and she's hosted some things now. And yeah, it's interesting how life just keeps evolving and nothing has changed. My dad does still not host anything at his house, so we've all had to rotate hosting things, which has been fine. It's a learning process of how to handle that. So hopefully you can take any parts of things from that story and it offers a little bit of perspective, or at least to know you're not alone if you're going through any part of that. This was from, again, I'll just reshare, Sacred Hellos, Messages from Heaven. This book is available on Amazon, both paperback and Kindle, so I'll post the link to that. I'm reading a chapter every Sunday as I am getting ready to, as we're selling everything and we're moving abroad. So it's really brought to the forefront a lot of wrapping up of chapters and reflection. So this felt like the perfect time to take a moment and read this book again, now years later, in hopes that it can help people that are in this place now that maybe they didn't need this information back when it was published. Next week, I'm going to read chapter 14, talking about signs with others. So I hope you'll join me for that, and also go back and watch this entire series if this is something that speaks to you. Some of the chapters from this book are about the day my mom passed. I was on my honeymoon when I got that call. The weeks after, really trying to get back into life, but being torn between deep grief and also the expectations of the world around you. A dream visit about losing a pet. One thing to do after a death that nobody tells you. The time my mom interfered with her own funeral. And just a glimpse of a few chapters that are coming up. Say her name. Be gentle with yourself. Visitors from heaven during final days of life. I am more than this partially broken me. You are worthy. The path forward. And some others. And some stories from others who have submitted their experiences with getting signs from loved ones who've passed. So I thank you for being here. This is such a difficult topic, grief and healing. And I invite you to share if you've gone through any part of this in the comments. Only supportive comments will be allowed. So this is a safe place that you can find support and offer that to others as well if you are a little further on in your journey working through some of this. All right. Thanks so much for being here. Bye.